Welcome everybody to yet another great episode of FoundersGyan. This week's guest is Prashant Koirala, who is the co-founder of Venturesity.com. That is V as in victory, ENTURESITY.com, a company that is changing the way companies are hiring by means of learn-ups and hackathons. I am super pumped, super excited to bring you Prashant, who is, I'll add, a very busy person. So I'm pumped. Let's get on with the show, shall we? Prashant, welcome to the show. Super exciting to meet somebody like you who's changing the way companies are recruiting. As an introduction, Prashant is the co-founder of Venturesity, which helps employees prepare and take part in challenges to find their dream jobs. Prashant has an impressive background, having held senior management positions with various banking and capital firms. He was also the director of Entrepreneurial Partnership of Greater Washington way back in 2002, which promoted entrepreneurship in Washington, D.C. Thanks a lot, Prashant, for agreeing to be on the show and sharing your wisdom and time with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Prashant, can you tell us a bit more about your journey and background before Venturesity?
I'm from Nepal. I lived all over the world. I did most of my schooling in India and then went to US to do my undergrad. And while I was doing my undergrad, got involved in bunch of things in terms of including the Entrepreneurial Partnership of Greater Washington, which one of my mentors had started.
Okay.
And I kind of just joined him, and we built out. It was primarily focused on helping inner city entrepreneurs. So these are folks who are at or below poverty start businesses.
Okay.
And so after that, I worked for a venture fund, then worked for a private equity fund, did some investment banking, did a lot of emerging market work.
Okay.
And about 4 years ago, I decided to move back to India. And knew a lot of people, so connected to a few folks in Hyderabad. They had an investment group that had a lot of companies.
Okay.
So I was heading the education and the healthcare business.
Okay.
Did that for a year. Decided to move to Bangalore.
Okay.
And you can be entrepreneurial or be an entrepreneur. So decided to do the latter.
Okay.
And so that's kind of when we started Venturesity.
Okay, cool. So can you explain a bit more about Venturesity and how did you come up with this revolutionary idea of hiring?
So I wish I could say, it was just a eureka moment. For us, it was just an idea that just came out right at the beginning. Actually, it took us some time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very iterative process.
Okay.
Our hypothesis was always about, how do you solve the hiring problem?
Right.
And, we didn't know the answer, and we were not just copying any business model out there. So we said, let's go find out.
Okay.
So we put out a job board. This was about just over 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then we realized the issues with the job board.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said, the problem with the job board essentially is, you have the best people don't come to the job boards.
Right.
And when you have a job out there, you still have 400 applicants, 500 applicants, so you're not really solving the problem.
Right.
And then we said we'll try and create a talent pool. So we started a education program where we'd get folks from the industry to come and train people.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we realized was it addresses a lot of entry-level folks, but not senior folks.
Okay.
So when somebody says, hey, I want an Android developer, they mean that they want a trained Android developer, not just somebody who just learned Android.
Right.
So we said, this doesn't, we had a lot of people taking our courses, but we are still not solving, what we set out to solve.
Right.
And then we kind of stumbled in this hackathon idea where we organized a hackathon, and we invited a lot of companies that we worked with, a lot of people who are taking our courses. And what we realized was a lot of people, so there's a lot of dark horses out there. There are a lot of people who may not, look great on resume,
right.
but came up with an amazing solution,
right.
and companies were happy to engage. So I think for us, it's always been an iterative process rather than that hey, this is my idea and I'm just going to run with it. And so for us, it was a process of learning, and that's how we came about it. Listening to the market and solving the problem.
Okay, great. And how would this be slightly different from stuff like Hacker Rank. I believe there's
Yes.
something similar, right?
Yeah,
Hacker
yeah.
Rank.
So I think the space is big enough. Everybody is solving the problem in their way. So for how we look at it is, so if you look at the whole hiring funnel, HackerRank primarily works with a lot of colleges,
Right.
and they solve the I guess the top of the funnel, which
Okay.
is screening.
Okay.
In our process, it's just not screening. So the entire hiring, so in terms of closing, also happens during a hackathon. So we are, I guess, we have a lot more depth
Right.
in that,
Right.
rather than just a screening tool.
Right, and you also do not just coding and technical, you do non-technical
so the
stuff
other
also,
differences
right?
are, we don't look at just coding and technology. We do a lot of non-tech thing, from sales, operations, digital marketing. So we cover the entire gamut.
Okay, cool. So can you give an example for one of these non-technical stuff? So we all know about hackathons, and I think when you say hackathon, the image that comes to mind is people sitting and coding something, know. So can you give an example of something non-technical and how the hackathon or whatever is the equivalent in Venturesity work? For example, a sales or a marketing.
We did associate director level position. These were on the ops side,
Okay.
which was for a venture funded company, and which was pretty much a case challenge.
Right.
So the idea doesn't change. You still, the hackathon is just not about coding, like you said.
Right.
It can be to hack, which we look at it as solving a problem, right?
Right.
Or finding a short way to solve a problem and
Right.
figuring it out. How can you do it creatively?
Right.
So we've done case challenges for associate director level positions. We've done for product marketing. We've done. We recently did one designathon.
Right.
So it was for designers.
Okay.
So you pretty much, the company gives a problem statement and says this is what they're looking for, and people had to come up with interactive designs.
Okay.
So it works. So what we've done is we've taken them, the typical hackathon, and
Right.
kind of been able to work it backward in terms of what companies are looking for, what kind of talent they want, and how do you use that, just not as a filtering process, but an engagement and being able to hire candidates as well.
Okay, brilliant. And I know you said that the idea is not something you stumbled upon and it was not an overnight thing, but more of a regular iteration process. But for our budding listeners, budding founders listening out there, can you tell us how to replicate this thought process and how do you come up with a nice idea?
So the first thing I'll say is, whatever you started with, you'll never end up with that, right?
Right.
In terms of, I think it's a process,
Right.
And I think my
there are no
suggestion is
shortcuts,
always
yeah.
you got to listen to the market. Don't fall in love with the idea so much
Right.
that it blinds you.
Okay.
So you got to listen to the market, get a pulse of people whom you are serving, people
Right.
the customers, people that you're trying to engage with. I think you've got to listen intently.
Okay.
So I don't know if there is a magic bullet to it, but the way I look at it, it's just an iterative process.
Okay. So when you say listen to the market, I think one of the key problems is a person or a group of people come together, they put their heart and soul into a product and they've released something, and in their minds it is the greatest product or it's one of the best products, and the market says something else. Kind of, isn't it a bit hard emotionally to let go of the original idea and kind of pivot onto something else? So how do you do that?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, you can't fall in love with your product. I mean, if you're not solving somebody's pain point, I mean, it's just a nice gizmo out there, right? So sometimes they have to let go.
Right.
And when is the right time? I think that's all up to the entrepreneur. And sometimes if you still want to pursue it, keep at it. And it's all about survival, right? If you survive, you'll thrive.
Right.
But I think the end users eventually decide. I mean, there's for everything, right? There's so many options out there.
Right.
And you can't be pushing any product, services, whatever it is, right down people's throat. I think eventually people have to come to you.
Right.
So I think the answer is you still got to listen, irrespective.
Okay, cool. And we all know that an idea is only as good as its execution. So can you tell our budding founders how they can execute their ideas and turn it into a reality? What are the steps, or what is the basic thing that you need to do in order to bring your idea into a product?
I'll go back to my earlier point, right? I mean, you start with trying to solve a problem that you feel is important, or that you feel, there's a big market for it. And it doesn't have to be a big market, right? Some of these things the market may not even exist today. But if you think you're solving a problem, I think, start with a hypothesis, and start with a direction. I mean, that's kind of what we really did. I mean, we didn't say, hey, job board is going to solve hiring problem. We said we want to solve hiring problem, or we want to do it at scale. And we went through our iterations. We kind of meandered from recruiting, from job board to education. But that's all helped us, because what we are doing today, I mean, we look at ourselves as a peer learning and challenge platform. Just to give you an example, the peer learning part is so critical. We realize in hackathons, people learn a lot more than even the courses that we are doing. So because you come as a peer, we've launched something called LearnUps that is engaging. You work with companies. A lot of companies sponsor. A lot of tech experts sponsor the LearnUps, but it becomes a better way. So I think you have to seek that, and you just got to feel it. But market is going to tell you. And the only way is you can get your best friend to come and buy a product or use that product for one time. But is he coming back? I think is the question. And I think India in that way is a great market. If people don't see value, they'll never come to you.
And so would you subscribe to the MVP process, lean process?
It's got to be lean. I mean, there is no other way. It's got to be lean, because even what a great idea may be today, I mean, there's a lot of other dynamics that changes, right? I mean, and irrespective of how much funding you have, or the resources you have, I think your approach should always be lean. Okay, cool. Let's move on to a personal question. We all hear about founders sacrificing family time to make their ventures a success. Can you tell us a bit more about your family and how you manage to balance business and family life? So, I'm married. I have a lovely 9-month, and now she's almost 10-month-old daughter. I think it's not two separate things. I mean, at least the way I've done it. I mean, you make them part of the journey, right? I mean, it's kind of so you make them part of a journey. And the way I look at this thing is that it's not a sprint. And you can't separate these two things, for too long. So you make them part of the journey. It's a marathon and not a sprint. So you kind of have fun along the way. And there is a sense of urgency, because you've got to get to execute faster. But at the same time, few things takes its own course. So you can't force fit it either. So give time to both. And the more you integrated it is, it works out. And most startup, it's pretty much like family, right? You know people on a personal level, so you engage with them outside as well, and and engage your family as well.
Okay, that's brilliant. I like your answer. And Venturesity was founded by yourself along with two other founders, Rajesh Rai and Subendu Panigrahi. Is that right? So how did you guys meet or get together to start this, and how can our budding entrepreneurs find co-founders?
So I met Raj in US. In fact, he was teaching a class in entrepreneurship, and I was attending it. So I've known him for a long time. I've known him for almost a decade now. I met Shubhendru through Raj. And I think it's the advice is you got to look within but also look beyond your circle and try and work with somebody for at least a year.
Right.
I mean, and engage actively for a year, because I think, you uncover people slowly, and, everybody's got the strength and weakness, and
Right.
It's got to be a team, right? So it's got to be complementary skills.
Right.
But you only get to know that, just not by looking at a resume. You got to engage with them.
Right.
Engage with them in a professional way,
Right.
in a personal way, and say, hey, because things are going to get tough.
Right.
And, are these the folks that I can, go along with them,
Right.
whether it's, easy or hard.
Right. Right. So you would say that go with people right?
I think work with them for
Right.
at least a year.
Right.
But look people in your circle, because most times founders are, friends. But I think look for people beyond your circle also, if they have complementary skills.
Okay.
But weigh it out, give it time, let it mature, and at least the way I look at it is, at least for a year. A year is a good time.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it takes a lifetime to know a person, but I think a year is a good time. But
okay. Can you share with our listeners an example of a major disagreement between you guys? I'm talking about you three founders, and how did you manage to reach a resolution and the lessons learned from that experience?
I mean, we disagree all the time.
Okay.
Because it's, and the way I look at it is, it's a constructive disagreement, because
Right.
I think at the end it's the company's goal, and these are healthy disagreements that you have to have. And I think you put in, and at the end you pick the one that actually is best for the company. I mean, you got to leave. Go into disagreements, but leave your ego aside. Because so I think when that happens, I think you kind of collide, but the outcomes are always better.
So can you give us an example of something, the way the product or your venture turned or took some shape because of a disagreement and probably
So
for
so
better?
when we were doing the education, we had a lot of people taking up courses, and but I think it was not really a disagreement. It was, we had to pull the plug on the online courses.
Right.
And we said, the model is not really working, because the smartest people don't pay to learn.
Right.
And the companies want to hire the smartest folks.
Right.
So I think it was a tough decision, I think, for all of us to pull the plug on that one and say, hey, let's
Okay.
focus more on the hackathon side.
Okay.
But I think
was it a cash cow that you were not able to pull the plug, or was it something
it was
else?
a little bit of it was we were generating revenues, but at the same time it wasn't scaling.
Okay.
So then we realized that, hey, this is something we can generate revenues but not scale.
Right.
And it was a tough decision from that standpoint.
Okay. Cool. Is there a daily ritual that you follow that helps you be productive? Can you share this with me and our listeners?
So, as startup founders, or whether you work in a startup also, you're playing the catch-up game. You always have 1,000 things to do.
Right.
And so the way I look at it is, every day I think it's one big task, right, that's going to make a major impact. Whether it's sending out an email, making a phone call, writing up something, or catching up on something that you haven't done, whatever it is, right? So one major impact that you can create for the organization, and just make sure that gets done. So that's kind of, so you take it one day at a time.
Okay, brilliant. So your advice would be to focus on one big task and get it completed. Not needn't be a big task, one task.
Yes. They say that eat the frog, right? I mean, in terms of whatever you procrastinated, or
Right.
that one big thing,
Right.
you just got to get it done. So
Right. Okay, brilliant. Can you tell us something about yourself that is not very commonly known?
I'm not a great swimmer, but I've done scuba diving in the Barrier Reef.
Okay. Cool.
This is back in 2008.
Okay. Do you need to be a great swimmer to be a scuba
No,
diver?
you need. I think you need to be fairly decent swimmer, but also you needed the PADI license, which I didn't have, all of that. So again, I really wanted to do it. So I convinced a diver to take me to the ocean, and because I was there in the Barrier Reef, and that's the mecca for diving.
Right.
So
Okay.
so I did it.
So you
done with my checklist.
Okay, so you there's a term for it. I'm not able to get the term. So, but Indians are very known for method. Make a band-aid and go ahead with things. So
I guess Nepalese also. No, I think it is just something that I really wanted to do.
Right.
I think it would have taken me, and this was an impromptu decision we had made, when I was in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just something I wanted to do it, but I think if there is a will, there is a way. So
Right.
you figure it out.
Right. Brilliant. Okay, we all know that there's a lot of pressure in startups. So where do you personally get your inspiration from, and what would you advise our listeners to do in order to get some inspiration?
I think inspiration is around you, at least for me, right? I mean, for me, it's the people I work with, family. So, you're going to get beat down every day.
Right.
Right. Just to get up and keep going, right? I that's just the nature of things.
Right.
And just have fun along the way. I think the inspiration is, like I said, around you, and every time something gets you down, you figure out something else, because you always have so many things you can do in a startup.
Right.
So pick up something that motivates you, right? And you can get over the hump.
Okay, great. Can you tell us about an extreme low point in your business and how you managed to overcome it, and the lessons you learned from that experience?
Again, back to I think startups, it's a roller coaster, right? Every day there's something good and something, against what you've, not so good that happens to you. It's every day. I think, you have clients who are not happy, or you have clients who are thrilled. I think the way to overcome is build a good team. I think if you have a good team, you have good people around, because as a startup, primarily what you're doing is trying to solve a problem, right?
Right.
And if you have the right set of folks, there's always a solution to it.
Right.
So surround yourself with good people.
Okay, great. We are almost 3/4 down the way, so I have just few more questions. Now, how does Venturesity help potential employees prepare for challenges?
So we have a lot of learning materials. So we collaborate with companies in that, from our past experience in building courses and content. So what we do is curate content. Some of it we do it, some of it we partner with other companies, or we take things from online. So we send learning materials to help you prepare for most challenges. We have a challenge team, so people want to understand what kind of skill sets and they need to learn what skill set they need to brush up on. We assist them with that as well, and it's all for free.
Okay, that's great. And do you also help employers come up with challenges based on the recruiting gaps?
Yes, absolutely. So based on what companies are looking for, we help them come up with challenge. So recently we just came up with a challenge. We are doing a challenge-based executive search. So we do senior level hiring as well. So for a challenge for a CTO, so we help them come up with a challenge. So they give us in terms of what they're trying to assess. Based on that, our challenge team puts together the challenge.
Okay. So you have a separate challenge team who are experts in kind of recruiting?
These are folks PhD background who kind of work and put together the challenge. So we have that.
Okay, brilliant. What is the future of Venturesity? Where do you see this going?
The answer is we'll see, but I think for us it's always been solve a problem and then solve it at scale. We've solved the problem to some extent. We've got a long way to go. We are solving it at scale, and so now we're trying to go for bigger scale. So we've got a long way to go, but I think the idea is still our long-term goal is saying, resumes are not important. I think what is pertinent is people's skill and what they can bring to the table. So we're trying to build a different profile for folks and kind of assist them in building that profile and engaging companies in the process as well.
Okay. Just touching a little bit more on the potential employees. Now you mentioned that you have these online courses that your people can take for free and prepare for these challenges. But then once they take all these courses, do they just come to these hackathons and kind of start blind, or is there something more that you help them with before they come to these hackathons?
Because so right now the only thing we do is provide these learning materials. We organize learn-ups also.
Okay.
So we take specific topics, so maybe a very specific topic in AI or product management, which is hosted in partnership with a company or an industry expert. So people come and learn the skill set. So we look at these as vitamins in terms of that you're providing to a community, and say hopefully they can come skill themselves up. And the challenge at the end, you've still got to solve a problem, right? From a candidate standpoint, the company has a problem and you've got to solve. And we assist them, but I think at the end it's pretty much what the candidate does and how much they uptake. So the resources are available as long as they want to utilize.
So just let's talk a little bit about these learn-ups. So I did see on your site that there was some learn-up to learn about some specific
so we have one on Swift that's coming up. We did one on product management, which is done in partnership with Stacila. Swift, we are doing it in Pune in partnership with another company called Praxify. They're actually one of the best Swift developers.
So let's take the example of Swift, for example. Now, what is the outcome of this learn-up? At the end of the learn-up, is there a challenge that is based on what they have learned, what candidates have learned?
Yes, so the Learn is a peer learning platform, right? So what it does is you engage with the company, so you have an industry expert who will come and teach you maybe a specific module in Swift. After that, they give you an exercise in terms of what you have to, a challenge with which they have to solve, with peers. And the mentor will assist you, but you have to, so it's not even a nano hackathon. It's about 4 to 6 hours. So you learn a concept and you reinforce that by working through a challenge.
And supposing somebody does really well in the challenge, does that person get offered a job or something?
Learn-ups, we've tried to keep it pure because we want people, all kinds of people to come, and not just for jobs, but absolutely, if the person is really good and if the company and the person wants to get hired by the company, can always reach out. These are very guard down approaches, whether it's a hackathon or learn-up, to engage with companies, because you really don't have any other way now to engage with companies, right? Because pretty much the only thing you can do is apply for an interview, and just show up for the interview, but that's a very structured process. So these learn-ups, hackathons is not very structured. In the sense it's it's a better way to engage. You are engaging with the real person on the other side as well.
So it's open-ended. The outcome is open-ended.
For the learn-ups it's open-ended. The objective out there is to learn something and implement it.
Great. Are there any books or resources that you can recommend for our budding entrepreneurs?
So I read a lot of biographies. For me, there's a fantastic biography by Christopher Columbus. Amazing. Again, like I said, inspiration is around you. So for me, it's always been, people that have been close. So in terms of books, of course, everybody knows that Steve Jobs, but there's a lot of great biographies of people who've overcome things.
Can you name a few that personally maybe inspired you? Or
so I like the one by Christopher Columbus. I read one biography, Leonardo da Vinci. Amazing. always liked art. There's a fantastic book on Van Gogh.
Okay.
Again, these are, I think, the entrepreneurs of their generation,
Right.
I mean, who went and did something which was otherwise, which was, especially if you look at Van Gogh, right? I mean, he died with nothing.
Right.
And again, he believed in what he did so much. I mean, it took a long time.
Right.
And, he didn't see it in his lifetime.
Right.
Of what he had become. But again, they're great inspiration of theirs.
Okay, great. Do you have any interests or hobbies that you pursue if and when you have some spare time? And does any of this help you in your business?
Yeah, so I exercise a lot, do the running, athletics, play football. But that's something I do on a regular basis. Hobbies, I always go out and see places, so it doesn't have to be fancy, big cities, all of that. I always go out and I love to travel. So even if it's a small town, small village, it always broadens my horizon because I'm able to look at something a little differently.
Right.
So whenever I get a chance, I just go out and travel.
Okay, and this does help you in your business, right?
It opens your horizon. You look at the world a little differently because you've interacted with some new people, seen new places, eaten some new food. So all this helps.
Okay, cool. Venturesity was started in 2011, right?
Yeah, so we went through our phases. I think formally in 2012.
2012. Okay.
But yeah, we kind of ideation, iteration. So that's kind of.
Okay. So, would you say that your business has achieved a certain level of maturity now? It's been 2 years, even if you 3 years.
Yeah, I think we have. I think in terms of we have a good team with fantastic set of folks with the young energy and the mature folks as well. So I think we've matured. We've matured as a team.
Right.
But we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But the question is actually this: if you were to start this today, what would you do different?
Like I said earlier, I think the circumstances are different. And I think we would still go through the iterative process. I don't think you still have to go through that gestation period.
Right.
I think we would probably go through that iterative process, and it just helped us. I don't think I would do anything different. Maybe we're in the hiring business, right? Maybe we would have hired a little differently, but I don't think I still think we would have gone through the same process. Right. I don't think there's nothing, because the dynamics are different in the market right now what it was 3 years ago, right? So I think we would go through the same set of iterations. It'll just be a different kind.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I just have one final question. So before we go on to that question, how can our listeners get in touch with you? Do you have a Twitter handle or blog or?
I'm not very active in social media. I do a little bit of everything, but just email me. It's Prashant, Prashant @venturesity.com.
Okay, great. So Prashant, before we move on to the final question, I just want to take the time to acknowledge and thank you for sharing your knowledge to myself and our listeners. I am also very grateful for the value you are adding into the world and to a lot of employees and employers by means of your company. So with that, we move on to the final question. So if there is one gyan that you could give our would-be founders, what would that be?
Just get it started. I mean, I think it's a journey. So, I mean, they say it's a cliche, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? So you just got to start it and enjoy the process. I think there's no substitute to that. It's not as bad as people make it seem to be. I think it's a fun journey. You just got to have the right attitude and take everything in good strides.
Okay, brilliant. I love it. So thank you so much, Prashant, for your time, and it was a real pleasure chatting with you, and wish you continued success in your venture.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
There you have it, friends. A super episode yet again. Please share this with your friends and colleagues. You can use one of the nifty sharing icons, or you can directly use the link that is www.foundersgyan.com/EP06. You can also go to foundersgyan.com and listen to past episodes. We have plenty of past episodes. Please make sure to check them out. I'll be back next week with yet another great entrepreneur, yet another great show. You know what time it is. It's time for action. Go ahead and get inspired and take action today. I'll see you all next week. Thank you.